My first brand doesn't exist today. That is my most successful brand. The reason I say that is it's because of that brand I've learned everything.
Brett Berish, president and CEO of Sovereign Brands, knows the formula from crafting the global sensation Luc Belaire to developing top-selling rums like Bumbu and award-winning gins like McQueen and the Violet Fog. Brett has turned Sovereign into an international powerhouse.
Brands take time. If you stick to something for a long time, you're gonna have success. If you believe in something, you can do anything. It's not one thing that's made us successful. It's lots of things, trying lots of things. You gotta try a whole bunch of shit and maybe something will work. People make mistakes all the time. You're just setting yourself up to fail if you ask somebody their opinion.
But here's the real twist. He's not just creating products, he's building a culture, a movement with the Self-Made Taste Better campaign featuring icons from music, sports, and entertainment.
It's the hardest thing in the world to do. Try to convince somebody to do it differently. If there was an easy one, we'd all be doing it, but there's nothing that's easy. I don't think anybody's had more new successful brands than us. It's a great sign of if you believe in something, you can make it successful. Premium brands can exist everywhere in the world. Cheap brands, it's difficult.
In this episode, Brett shares how he's repeatedly built game-changing brands and the secret sauce behind his partnerships with some of the world's most renowned producers. If you've ever wondered what it takes to turn a passion into a global empire, this is one story you won't want to miss.
Welcome to Success Story. I'm your host, Scott Clary. The Success Story podcast is part of the HubSpot podcast network. I'm also a big user of HubSpot products. They've supported the show for over 3 years now. And for all entrepreneurs out there, I need you to go back to a time and place when building businesses, as tough as it is, can be sometimes a little bit fun. When you're marketing, it should be fun. But marketing is not so fun anymore because it's very time consuming, it's very difficult, and it feels like there's just a lot of friction. Content was simpler to make, leads were easier to capture, and we weren't all spread so thin. As marketers, as entrepreneurs, the bottom line is that marketing used to be fun. It's not so fun anymore. But with HubSpot's newly launched marketing and content hubs, I've been using it myself, it brings a little bit of fun and creativity back into marketing for your business. You're going to generate better content, you're going to generate more leads, and next level results, which really make marketing fun again. So with tools like Content Remix, you can turn existing assets into all new pieces with just one click. Lead scoring helps you shine a light on the leads that are most likely to purchase, and analytics suites they built out will help you with reports, KPIs, and just a gold mine of AI-powered insights. It's quick to get your results. It's easy to use. It connects all your teams and your data. So put the fun back into your marketing funnel with HubSpot. Visit HubSpot.com to get started for free. Brett, dude, I'm excited you're down here. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot of fun. I wanted to start this off because I think that most of your career has been a little bit contrarian. And I think that's actually how you've really succeeded. So just to sort of frame your thoughts around building a business, how do you look at building a business, adopting like almost like a contrarian perspective whenever you try and build something or design something new or think through something new? Because the way that you do things, I don't think is the way that 99% of people would do things.
You know, for whatever reason, you just made me think of, I'm in high school right now. It's my senior year, and I entered, it was called the Mr. Nurture contest, or my high school name. And it brings me back to that because I remember when you had to do your bathing suit contest or your your Formula Work contest or your talent, I had to do it differently. I had to think differently from everybody else because my whole thing was, I got to be different. How do I get noticed? And I think that's literally has never changed, is I think to myself, what's going to be special about this one moment? And for me, it's about all the moments trying to be different because I can't be like everybody else because they're going to have more talent, more money, more style. They'll look better. Everything's better. I got to be different.
Do you think that was something that you picked up from your family? Because your dad was an executive at Jim Beam for 25 years, which is so interesting because if I think executive at Jim Beam, I don't think different. I think somebody that's actually in this huge machine. This corporate behemoth. That's not a small company. So it's so funny because you did the same thing but different. You're still in spirits. You're still in liquor. You still create.
Yeah, I don't. If you're asking where it comes from, I don't know. I think maybe I'm the youngest of my four brothers, and I need to stand out. Maybe it's insecurity. Maybe it's, I don't know, because the way I think about my dad right now, there's no question I take tons of stuff that he's given me, and his ability to sparkle in his eyes when he talks about the industry or talks about a brand or how he can engage people just about what he did for a living, and he loved it. So I think I have that, or he instilled that in me. But I don't know where it comes from, but again, lately things are making me realize what I do today is no different than what I did in high school or what I did in grade school. How do I stand out because I don't have what everyone else has mentality?
I think it's a very strong, like, mental space to build from, because it creates this figure it out. I got to figure this shit out, and it doesn't matter what I got to figure out. But I mean, I can't rely on money. I can't rely on connections. I can't rely on doing things the way that everyone else has done it. And I think that's actually what allowed you to be successful.
I think so, but at the same time, I'm also realizing, like right now, in my career, which is 20 plus years now in starting this company, the first 5 or 6 years, I don't think I did some things differently, but I did a lot of things based on what everyone else was doing, and that's where I kept making mistakes.
Explain what mistakes?
It's everything holds true from back then to today. Hiring people based on their industry experience. I shouldn't have done that. Based on today, I hire, not today, but the past 15, 20 years, I'm hiring people. I don't care about their industry experience. I don't care how old they are. I don't care about what they know, because I know I can teach them. But what I can't teach is that energy, excitement, enthusiasm, wait for nobody, go freaking make it happen yourself. Like, that's different. Or, the way, if somebody in our industry told me, like, this is the way you should build a brand, well, he's smarter than me. He's been doing it longer than me. Clearly he knows. I'd follow his lead.
That's not the way to do it.
It's not. And it took me, sometimes it takes, maybe, hopefully it's shorter today, but it takes me a while to learn, that I can't be like everybody else. There's some things I can do that should be the same, but other things, no.
When you hear the words like, this is the way it's always been done, I've always felt that's a death of a company. Like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's almost like in your creative process, in your business building process, you architected you're going to push back against that repeatedly. And I think that's why you keep rolling out.
Scott, it's the hardest thing in the world to do, is try to convince somebody to do it differently, especially when you need them, especially when they're ingrained in what they do, whether it's a distributor, an importer, somebody who's selling your brand, somebody who's marketing for you. There's a fine line, because you want to piss them off, but at the same time, it's like you got to convince them there's another way to do it, or let's try this. It's very hard.
So talk to me. I mean, like, you come from a family that the category is called spirits, right? So spirit. So when you're growing up, is this something that you always wanted to do? Because I know that I was listening to a couple different shows before we jumped on this. So you got in trouble in college for trying to be an entrepreneur in your dorm. So walk me through that story, maybe like the first version of your entrepreneurship.
Well, there were multiple versions, but that one, I went to the University of Florida in Gainesville. I was living in the dorms, and I think I had just seen some it was about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the terrible towel, and which was this towel they all waved during the heyday of the Steelers. And I thought, I want to do this for Florida. And I came up with this design, and I called it the Gator, the Whippin' Rag, with an alligator on it. And ultimately, I started selling it out of the dorms, had a big article written about me. It was funny in the Gator Times. And then they kicked me out of the dorms because I wasn't supposed to have a business in the dorms. But I was the kid, I describe myself, there are those people in life who are fortunate enough to know exactly what they want to do. God bless them. I think that's an amazing feeling. For me, it was, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had lots of ideas, and I didn't pick any because I was afraid that idea that I wanted to choose wasn't the one, and I'd never have another good idea again. So therefore, you're just kind of lost. You're kind of treading water and treading time. And that was me. So it wasn't until my 30s where I just had to pick something, and I picked this industry, and I've never looked back.
That's wild, because at the end of the day, it's all about action, obviously. But to just say, I'm picking an industry, you're planting a flag in it, and you're going to figure it out, regardless. Okay, so,
but I remember being in college and high school, and I wanted to do 100% agave tequila before it was 100%. I wanted to buy a liquor store chain in Chicago that I thought I could develop the next big, Office Max, Staples, and liquor business, which was a great idea back then. But I didn't have the confidence to pull anything off, if that made sense.
It's also
not a confidence to myself.
It's not an easy industry to.
Yeah, but no industry is easy. If there was an easy one, we'd all be doing it. But there's nothing that's easy. Nothing that's easy.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. I look at, I come from like a tech background. So to me, figuring out supply chain and logistics and regulatory is like, fuck that. Like honestly, fuck that. So to me, that seems like a huge lift. But I guess if you come from it, then you kind of know your way around a little bit. It's not easy, but it seems like a...
Well, I tell people, I still say this line, and I still believe it, is the best thing about me with this industry is I understand it, I appreciate it, but I'm not too close to it because I never worked in it. And I think if you're too close to something, you miss the opportunity. You don't see it. Even today, I love liquor stores. I hate liquor stores. I don't want to go in. It's overwhelming. It's too many brands. It's visually too much for me.
Going to a Total Wines, and
it's
insane. It's like
correct.
Costco with liquor.
So for me, I don't want to be tainted. I want to look at it from an outsider's perspective, and I still think that way. So I get lots of ideas, not from our industry, trying to think about it from a different perspective.
When I walk through the aisles, like I can tell everyone's trying to stand out, but at the same time, no one's standing out. It's hard. It's very hard. So when you look, you're like, the bottles are beautiful. Like, I think that's the first thing I noticed. Like, the bottles are very beautiful, but they don't look like all the other bottles. Like, you can tell with probably 99% of brands out there what that drink is just based on the bottle. But you don't do that. I don't think you do that. No. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I do. It's true, actually. If I look at Deacon, which is the new one, which is my Scotch, it doesn't look like the category. It doesn't look like the industry. So for me, it goes back to this idea that I can't outspend the big guys. I can't outspend them on marketing, and I can't force it on people. So I need to stand out. That's how I think about it. So everything is in the design. At least I believe it is. So there's a story. There's a story about the color, about the name, about the feeling of the bottle when you touch it, about whether it's debossed or embossed, where it's debossed, where it's embossed, what the copy says, what the cork looks like. All those things matter to me.
What was the first version of the first company you started to build at? You said 30?
Yeah, in my mid 30s when I started Sovereign.
Okay, so that was that. So it's been around for 20 plus years. What was the first version of it?
Well, my first brand doesn't exist today. And I always say that is my most successful brand. And the reason I say that is it's because of that brand I've learned everything. I learned how to build brands. I learned how to be patient. I learned how to trust my own instincts. I learned I have lots of sayings. If anybody's going to fuck it up, it's got to be me. I learned not to rely on anybody. Back then, when people said they do things, I assumed they do, and I'd sit and wait for it. So that brand taught me, and it doesn't exist, everything that I've done since. And I think I don't say this in a boasting way. I don't think anybody's had more new successful brands than us. But I say that proudly in telling the next Brett out there who wants to develop the next brand, what all my brands have in common is no one believed in them. No one thought they would work. No one. And to me, it's a great sign of if you believe in something, you can make it successful.
Why would no one believe in any of these brands? And again, I think that it's really important that Ace of Spades, that exit was very publicized, and it was a big in the news and whatnot. And then I heard you on I think it was another Miami podcast actually, and the guy asked, so nobody believed in you even after that?
They still don't.
But that's wild to me. Like, what does it take? That's super impressive.
I should say, maybe it's easier. Maybe it's always a little bit easier. Maybe it opens the door a little bit more. Maybe the meeting's a little bit longer. But it goes back to what you said this is the way it's been done. This is the way you look at it. So if you look at it, I again, another saying is, I hate data. I hate trends. If something's hot, I don't want to do it, because if I'm not already part of that trend, it's too late. So if you think about champagne, there is no champagnes there is no new champagnes. No one goes into that category. It's the last category you want to enter because it's old and it's controlled by one company, which is Moet Hennessy, which has all the champagnes. So you're entering a category that everyone's saying, come on, it's never going to work. And now you're pricing it at more expensive than any other champagne. And now you're putting it in this gold, shiny bottle that looks nothing like everyone else. And it's not a vintage, it's a multi-vintage. So all those things are completely going against the grain of what anybody else would do. So it's true. The average person would say this is not going to work. It's not going to work.
When you look back to that first brand, it doesn't exist anymore. What would be, you said you had a whole bunch of learnings and lessons and stuff like that. What would be the biggest success and best lesson out of that, but also like the biggest failure from that first one? The thing that was like the shit hitting the fan moment.
For Ace or my first?
No, for your first brand, because I love like the stories at the beginning.
I think probably the biggest lesson was and still is, it's not about quantity, it's about quality in everything. In any sale, I'd rather have 10 accounts do really well than to have 100 accounts with a bottle. To me, it's if you're in 100 accounts and nothing's happening, there's this, you feel like you're rushing just to make sales. To me, success is you got to have each one as successful because it helps the next one. So I still believe that, and I'd still tell my team that, and I still think that way. Success-wise, I think I look at the negatives more than the positives.
I mean, that's actually a very healthy way, because then you pay attention to the things that are not working out so well.
But it goes back to these sayings, and literally, I believe these things. My brother and I have a saying, every meeting's a great meeting until you leave the room. Every meeting. And the key is, how do you keep them in the room? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep people talking about you? How do you make noise? How do you we're not talking about the brands or a business. No one else is talking about it. How you have to micromanage. You got to be a parent to the brands. You got to, when they're little, you got to do all the littlest tiny things with a baby. You got to wash them, you got to clean them, you got to feed them, you got to make sure they don't fall down. It's the same with brand building. So it's life lessons about how to build something and gradually get it to grow. I can't force my 8-year-old to be more than he's an 8-year-old. That's what he is. There's lots of things.
And when you look at even like the brands that you have right now, what is the strategy? What's the framework behind, this is what we're going to put out into the world. This is the story behind it. This is who I want it to resonate with.
I take Bumbu.
Yeah.
So Bumbu, we launched maybe 5 or 6 years ago. The goal was and is, I want to create a new level of rum, premium. I think rum is unappreciated. And when you look at it, again, it goes back to this idea. If you look at trends, and if you ask anybody in our industry, they would say, stay away from rum.
Well, they're probably going to say, go to tequila.
Correct. Well, that's the hot thing. So rum is not hot and it's declining. And you've got these big giant brands like Captain Morgan and Bacardi. And I want to do something that's better than them. I think there's a better product out there for consumers. I think there's a product that tastes better for them and it's more premium. And we hit on a taste that we love. And then we created a story around it and brought history in. So there's a story around Bumbu. Back in the 16th century, merchants who traveled the West Indies, the Caribbean, didn't like the taste of rum, which they called grog, and they would craft their own out of it, and they would call it Bumbu, and we brought that back. So once we have all that, then it's birthed into the world.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we have yet, so I kind of let things breathe, and you figure it out. So now fast forward, not even fast forward, Canada, where you're from, is our single biggest market in the world for Bumbu, single biggest outside the United States. And I jokingly say until this year, no one from our company's ever been there.
That's so funny. So there was a gap in the market.
Well, to me, it's not a gap. To me, it's always with anything, if it's a great brand, people will find it.
You know what else I've noticed? So I used to drink a whole bunch of Captain Morgan. That was like my high school drink. That was my go-to drink. But there was no story behind it. Nobody gave a shit. It was just like the cheap... Tequila wasn't really that big when I was in like high school, university. So it was always Captain Morgan. But then the second you find something else, you move off of it because you don't really care. There's no affinity to that. There's no story behind it. But you were... I think in one of the videos I was watching, you were saying that this is in like 30... At least when the video was pushed out, there's 35 countries. And you can't even get it in more countries because you're always selling out.
But actually, today it's in 80 countries.
Oh shit! Okay, sorry.
No. But what's fantastic about this story is, and again, it goes back to this idea that if you believe in something, it can happen. We're in like 80 countries today, and there's only one market in the world, and I didn't even know that's a premium rum market, and that's France. We do well everywhere in the world. And all these markets are not premium rum markets, or they're not even rum markets, and we crush it. It's a great brand. If your brand is great, it'll get talked about. People will find it, they'll consume it. And I also believe in premium. It's like your Captain Morgan example. I think premium brands can exist everywhere in the world. Cheap brands, it's difficult.
When you think about building out a brand, do you care if there's going to be like a wave or a cultural shift towards that thing, or do you not care? Do you just want to get a little, like, are you banking on rum becoming the next tequila, or do you not care? Maybe you're just thinking, I just want to be a significant part of the existing market, and we're going to be premium, and we're going to be talked about. We're going to have loyalty from our customers and evangelists from our, you know what I'm saying?
I think you can't
see the future, but
look at Patron. And I always used to laugh when people would say, and I get presentations, I want to be the next Patron. I just want 1% of the category. And Patron took 30 plus years. So if it happens overnight, God bless, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. And I was that person who had that report, that business plan that said, I'm going to get 1% or 5% of the industry in it, and the multiples are, 20 times, and I'm going to sell it for X. That's where I make mistakes. That's where people make mistakes. If you have a healthy brand and you're growing, you're going to get there no matter what.
And when you launch these are kind of like your kids to a degree. How do you think through, as an entrepreneur, because this is very subjective, people could launch a brand and they want to hold on to it forever and they never want to exit it, never want to sell it. How do you think through that? Do I want to keep it? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to what?
Again, it goes back to this idea that when I was younger, when I started this, my mistake was thinking about the exit before you even start. And I think that, to me, is my mistake. And maybe it's a mistake for a lot of people out there. I don't think about that. If it happens, great, but I don't think, boy, now I'm ready to sell, or the brand is mature enough, or this is the time. I don't think like that. My goal is build the brand. You keep building it. Whatever happens will come, but focus on brand building. That's the key.
Do you feel like when somebody's focusing on the exit first, they're trying to take shortcuts or they're not paying attention?
They're not built. It's not real. It's not, to me, I don't know. I'm that guy who I have to love and have passion for what I'm doing because the exit may not ever happen. So you gotta, to me, it's about being in that moment of loving what you're doing because exit doesn't matter. That's not the goal. So, and the only reason I can say this, Scott, is, and I tell this story to people. So I've lost everything in this world and I've gained everything by being in this business. So there was a moment where I did have investors and they wanted to wind up the company. And I remember speaking to my mom. We were having a board meeting that day. And I remember speaking to my mom, who was my hero. And I was telling her about it. And she says, Brett, I'll sell all my rings for you. And I said, no, I'll figure this out. But I remember telling her, I was standing on Worcester and Broome Street in Soho outside because I had fake apartment, which was my office, and a couple of employees up there. I remember telling her, I love what I'm doing. And if I could just survive, make enough money to live this way and keep doing what I'm doing, I'm happy. And I needed that moment because then it's not about the money. It's just, I'm happy. I got to love what I'm doing and let things come as they go.
I love that. I wish more entrepreneurs would hear that message because I think that this is a great exercise. I don't think people actually even realize how much money they actually need to survive and the things that they think are out of their reach or they would only ever get if they were worth, pick a number. It could be 10, 50, 100 million, whatever it is, whatever your number is. The things that you actually want in your life are actually not that expensive. Sure. And I think that most people screw that up. The trips, the work-life balance, you want to have a private chef. You don't have to have $100 million to do that stuff.
I remember I was speaking at a Citibank conference about disruptive brands, and I was the next person to go on. And the person who was up there before me had started a company called Casper, the bed company.
Oh, the mattress. Yeah.
I guess at that time, Casper was one of those unicorns. Yeah. And he was saying, it was crazy. He was saying how they're in 7 continents. They've got 2,000 or 10,000 employees. They're global business within a year, and they've raised X billions of dollars. And I remember going up afterwards and saying, listen, if you think I'm going to tell that story, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to raise money like that. God bless them. I only know how to do what I've done. So there's different paths to get there, but I don't know how to do the other one. I only know how I've gotten to where I am.
Yeah, but then the question is, like, are you happy?
Sure. Oh, 100%.
So that's really all that matters.
100%.
Are you happy with your
100%.
business? And listen, when I say are you happy, it's not saying that this has not been highly successful. To have the reach that you've sold brands before, and throughout it, yeah, there's been ups and downs, but ultimately you knew your North Star.
But it's true, and you're hitting on, which I try to tell my team all the time. Success is relative. So this is already successful. This is doing more than I ever could imagine or anybody else could ever imagine. So I have to be happy with it. It's still small in relative terms compared to other things out there, but I got to be happy with it. This Deacon we just launched is in 60 countries. Come on.
I love the plague mask on the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's like, it's all relative to what your own expectations are. So I don't want to, just like kids, you can't force them. I can't force my son to be better at soccer. He is what he is. So you got to be happy with how far they've come. And that's how I look at it.
A big shout out to HubSpot and the HubSpot Podcast Network for sponsoring Success Story. If you enjoy Success Story, you're going to enjoy a ton of podcasts brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, including Hustle and Flowchart, hosted by Joey Fear. The Hustle and Flowchart podcast with Joey is all about how to build a business so it gives you the freedom and fuel for your life. You're going to join Joey as he discusses systems, mindset tweaks, reframes, and strategies for entrepreneurs and really anyone to enjoy the process of being in business and having fun. This isn't for entrepreneurs looking to build a billion-dollar business. It's for somebody who wants to build a lifestyle, somebody who is looking to build systems that work. Listen to Hustle and Flowchart wherever you get your podcasts. I think that successful entrepreneurship, if you know your North Star, you know what would make you happy. and then you can stay in the game long enough. I think that's like the secret. I think a lot of people, they have these unrealistic expectations, and then the work doesn't align with those expectations, and then they don't want to stay in the game long enough and then they get nothing out of it. But if you can stay in the game long enough, I thought about this a lot. Like if you're building any business, if you do it for 10 years, there's a really good chance that you are going to be financially quite well off. If you're not an idiot, you've learned from your mistakes, you iterate, maybe you pivot a little bit. It's not going to be the same year 10 as it was day one, but I don't think you're going to be hurting. I don't know anyone who hurts when they do one thing for 10 years.
100%. And if anything, and that's what I've learned. So if you ask me, Brett, do you still have new ideas? I always have ideas, but I don't want to do anything else because I've learned that this is what I know best. And this is where I've made the most mistakes and I've learned the most. So why would I do anything else? It's literally starting over. So if you stick to something for a long time, you're going to have success.
Been doing this for
no matter
20
what.
and 20 plus.
20 and still going and still growing.
When you, one thing that you've done very well, because I'm doing research and I see the people that are sitting around tables drinking all your liquor. Like these are like DJ Khaled and Rick Ross. I mean, like the big names. How do you, I think most brands miss this, but how do you get a brand to be so tied into culture? That's not easy.
I think to me, culture is something you can't buy. You can't force yourself into. It evolves. And I think that's what we've done as a company. We just keep evolving. We stay true. Culture is staying true to yourself, and I think that's what we've always been. So if you ask me, the things that we do today are the same things we've done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I still lean into music. I still love hip hop. The way we brand build, the way we move, it's just a natural, organic evolution. And that to me is culture. Culture today, like we've moved into, I use Africa as an example. We're doing great business in Africa. I'm a huge fan of Africa. I'm now a huge fan of Afrobeats music in Africa. I'm on piano music in Africa, African artists. We're leaning into that. Guess what? Culture is also leaning into that.
So, but you're, as a founder, you're not just like, oh, let's pay an influencer. You are actually putting yourself into, like you're learning about Africa, but you're not just saying from a boardroom, let's go find a way to spread it across Africa and let's get this into all these different restaurants or whatever, or stores in Africa. I mean, you're literally learning more about Afrobeats and music and culture yourself. 100%. And that's how you win.
100%. So to me, I have to go down and get dirty and know what's going on in the market. The end of this week, I'm going to Asia for visiting 7 countries. I'll come away with ideas. I'll come away with thoughts. By being in the market, visiting accounts, talking to people, you got to do that.
Yeah, I think that's probably because people don't want to get their hands dirty. No. They don't want to how do you, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think the most important thing I can do as the head of our company is, if I'm in the office, I can't accomplish anything. But if I'm in the field, that's where I can really accomplish things.
And on the flip side of that, you're understanding culture, you're understanding how to integrate this into what's trending or whatnot. When you talk to some of these like huge rappers like a DJ Khaled or a Rick Ross, how do you get them on board?
Well, I was just going to say, I don't do is I don't follow trends. Again, I go back to, to me, it's not about who's hot in music. I don't care who's
These guys are pretty hot in music. I mean,
no, but I'm not picking people saying, gosh, that guy's hot. I really want to connect with him. Everybody that we've ever worked with love the brands, want to be involved with the brands. They love the brand, whether they were a small artist at the time like Post Malone, who loved Belaire, who was my first interview, was probably one of our first ambassadors. But he just loved the brand. Who knew he would turn into what he's become? But it wasn't based on what's hot. It's a real association to the brand, and that's what's important to me.
So many brands talk about authenticity, but I don't think I've ever actually believed that a brand is authentic till I'm talking to you. I don't even know how else to describe it. It's like you just there's no bullshit in how you take a product and whose hands you put it into, and the communities and the audiences that you serve. It's just, we create great products, and if people like them, that's awesome.
Correct. I think, to me, it's not going to get you there fast, but to me, it's real. Meaning, I would rather, and I think this as me as the consumer, I want to feel like I'm discovering a product. I don't want to be told to take this product. I want to be told to try this. I want to feel like I'm discovering. And to me, that's good brand building. Let the person find it. Let them discover it. Let them experience it. Let them take ownership of it.
I was going to say, I don't think a lot of brands do that well.
I think they can. I think, again, there's other ways to do it, and they have a lot more money than me, and they can get there. But maybe it's not a healthy brand, and maybe it's not going to stick around. But to me, all the best brands started small. You know, it wasn't in a white lab in Rye, New York, that created it. You know, it was some small little in the back of your garage built brand. That's what's happened. I hear great stories about, never met him, the guy from Under Armour. You know, he believes in his brand. You got to believe in it, and that's how brands get built.
Tell me just very briefly, because I know that Ace of Spades was, like, obviously a big name, a big part of that journey. And you said it was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to you. So just tell me the story of how that came to be, because I'm sure people are interested in that.
So I get that was my first big successful brand, and I have 6 kids in my house, and I treat these brands like they're my children. I have blood, sweat, tears, everything's poured into this. So when I did have the opportunity, as you described, of selling something, at that time I had one brand, but lots of other brands that I wanted to launch, but I didn't have any money. So it's a funny thing in business when you can have a successful brand, but you can be poor because all your money's in that brand. All your money's in that thing. And I wanted to do Belaire. I wanted to do Bumbu. I wanted to do other brands. And I decided I think I should sell this and I can become bigger now. And that's exactly what happened. So in one way, it's the worst decision because you're selling a child. And the other way, now I'm bigger and stronger, and I'll be 100 times the size as I was before. So that to me is the experience. But that to me is how I got here up the ladder. Could I have raised money? Sure, I could have, but then I would have had to take on partners. Could I have done other ways to get there? I could have, but there are repercussions to that. So to me, this is the way I wanted to do it.
I think it's great. I think that it's hard to let go of something that you built. It is very, very hard. I mean, it would be strange for me to think about that through the lens of this podcast, for example. I mean, like, it's kind of something I built myself. What if a company, you know, came by and they said, hey, we want to buy your podcast, your likeness, your IP, and you can stay on as the host, but now we own it. I mean, that would be difficult. That'd be very difficult. But strategically, maybe that lets me do a ton of other stuff that I wanted to do that I couldn't do. So I think that at the end of the day, brands are like a baby. Your company's like a baby. But also, strategically, where can you take this if you get cash? And now look at what you've built with it.
Correct. So, you know, if you ask me, would I have done it differently? I can't think of it that way because this is how
part of your life. It's part of your journey.
Correct. But there's always a tie, and I wanted to do well because I want these brands to live forever. That's my goal. I want them to live forever and have their place in the world.
I'm also curious, why did that name become such a big name? Ace of Spades in particular. What was the thing?
I think, like anything, again, it's such a funny thing because I'm experiencing this with all the brands.
Yeah.
Time makes brands. It's time. It's, you know, for all the people out there who for the years and years who had never heard of Ace or Armand de Brignac, they begin to hear about it, and the brand begins to become bigger, and it takes on a life of its own. Belaire, same thing now. Bumbu now, the success it's having, people are hearing about it, they're talking about it. So it's time. That's when brands start kicking in, is time.
And when you look at other celebrity brands, why do a lot of them not do that well? Some do. If you look at
90% of them fail.
It's like Aviation Gin. That's one. What was one that the Clooney? There was a
Casamigos.
Casamigos. That one did well. These are like $1 billion, and Aviation Gin was Ryan Reynolds. These are $1 billion companies. But for every $1 billion company, there's probably a whole bunch that didn't do well. So what is the?
I think a couple things. I think one, timing is everything sometimes in this space, and I think Clooney was early in the idea of backing brands. I also think I would say most don't work. There's tons and tons of celebrity brands that haven't worked, and from what I've seen, they're in it for the money, and it's not for the love of the brand or building a business. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, who cares? And I think that's why always great brands are, again, it's somebody who's putting everything into it, who's made it successful. And those are the best brands. Those are always the best brands.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because you see all these influencers trying to launch wine brands and seltzers, and I just want like an influencer, thought leader, not like mega celebrity, but somebody that looks at. I'll give you an example. So my better half, Gina, she runs a meme account called My Therapist Says, and they were thinking about launching a wine, and they haven't done it yet. But I've always thought, like, okay, so what do we have to figure? How do we launch? I have no idea how to even start launching a wine. They have a big audience, about 8.5 million women from the ages of late 20s to late 30s in New York, LA, Miami. But I don't just want to launch a wine for the sake of launching a wine. Maybe it'd even be better for her to partner with somebody who's starting it and take a small equity position and act as their marketing wing. But for a creator that does want to launch something, I don't want them to just give up, because I have to appreciate an entrepreneur. So what would be the advice so that they don't? Obviously not focus on the money, but then what would be the advice for a creator who does want to launch a brand or a liquor or a wine or a spirit?
I would say the best way I would say it is play devil's advocate with them. You're assuming that once you make a post about this, it's going to be successful. So constantly ask the following question: what if it doesn't work once you make that post? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because that's the thing that I think lots of celebrities or anybody with an influencer thinks is, boy, if I just do a post, if I just show this, if I just do this, I could be the biggest basketball player in the world, biggest football player in the world. That's all I have to do. But if it doesn't fly, day one, what are you going to do? So that's when you have to decide, am I willing to get down and dirty? What am I willing to do to make this successful? How deep am I willing to go? How much time am I willing to spend on this? Because to me, that's when you know if you really want to do something or not. Do you want to get down and dirty? Do you want to go visit accounts? When it's not, when it's not easy like that.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think that's incredible advice, because I know a lot, not just influencers themselves, but a lot of people who want to partner with influencers, and they just want to say, well, what if we just do a few posts?
But my example, and I'll is a real life one. Like, I've had lots of famous people come to me.
I have no doubt, because
say, I would love to do something, and that's always my first question. What are you going to do? And they're shocked when I say, what if it doesn't work on their first post? They're shocked, because everyone thinks, what's the expression, their shit doesn't stink. It does. If it doesn't work, what are you going to do? And I could name 9 or 10 that have gone off and launched it. And guess what? It didn't work. Didn't work.
Do you take on like JVs, like joint ventures with celebrities, or no?
No. No, I'm always interested. I'm always curious. And it always comes back to, why do they want to do it? Like, and again, God bless them. If they can get the money, if they can get the partnership, if someone's willing to do something. And all the time I tell my friends who manage artists or manage people, if you can get it, take it. But for me, I got to spend the next 5-10 years building something, and my brands, this Deacon, this is not going to be truly successful, in my opinion, for another 8-9 years.
It's a different way to look at it.
But I'm willing to wait. I don't mind the ride. I'm fine with it. I'm fine. Brands take time.
I think that such a healthy way to look at business building, brand building. I think that it doesn't even matter if you're a celebrity, influencer, everybody's attention span and everybody wants instant gratification in anything.
100%.
And I think that kills entrepreneurship. I think it kills business, kills brands for sure. It's not that it even kills it. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. Unless you are like horseshoe up your ass lucky. It is virtually impossible to build anything worthwhile in a short period of time.
Or put differently, I don't know how to do it. That's it. Like but if I had hundreds of millions of dollars, I wouldn't know how to, meaning to put into marketing and build. Like, maybe there's a way to do it. I just wouldn't know how to do it because that's not how I've done it.
Tell you something though, the second you take on, you've built out a great business and you're not killing yourself. You also have a family and you also have balance and you also take care of your kids. So when you start taking on money, all of a sudden there's pressure. And now people don't just put in money to get like a 2X in 10 years. VCs put in money to get like a 10X in as soon as possible.
I had that early on, and that's why they wanted to wind it up, because they weren't getting the return that they wanted. So they didn't want to do this. And I looked at it as, God, I've learned so much. Like, we're just getting started. Like, we're figuring, yes, we made mistakes, but I'm learning. And that's the key to this, is you keep learning, keep making mistakes, keep trying shit.
But you probably feel the difference in how you build a business now versus when you took VC money. Do you not feel less pressure?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Again, this sort of takes us back to, as an entrepreneur, like, what do you want in your life? Because now you have balance. And just talk to me about that. Like, talk to me about the balance and maybe the guardrails that you put on your work life.
It's a good question. I'd say I'm just as driven. I'm just as, anything, I'm a perfectionist. Anything negative eats and kills me and it ruins me. Nothing's changed. The balance comes from, there's no question having security helps in life. That's where the balance comes in, because you have, I have something that you hopefully can't take away from me. It creates calmness, where I have to be reminded this constantly, where we've achieved something. But my family is critical to me, because to me, I learned from them about building brands. I tell a story. I always joke about this. So my son is 10. He's great at math. He's wicked at reading. And my daughter is 9. She is a great artist. She can draw, she can write, she's fantastic in art. My son is a horrible artist. He's just horrible. My daughter can't remember anything and doesn't read well. What do you do as parents? You lean in on what they're good at and you backfill later. That's brand building. That's building a business. It's taught me. You lean in on what's working and you try to support over time what's not working. That's how you build a business.
I love that.
But I wouldn't have known that until I let the brands go. Let the kids, you learn about your kids. You learn. In Canada, we crush it. Lean into it. Lean into where it's working. In the U.S., Belaire, there's a saying in our industry, you build it on-premise, bars and restaurants, to sell it off-premise at retail. Belaire retail, day one, people loved it. We leaned into retail. We still haven't focused on-premise, bars, restaurants.
Really?
Yeah. So
how long has this has been in the market?
10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so much out there. There's so many. But that's where we learn what's working, what doesn't. Deacon right now in Japan is flying. What are we going to do? We're going to lean in there. So it's always, again, you don't know what you have until you put it out in the world, then you figure it out.
But you have to be open to those signals from the market, from the world. Like, you have to be, because I think that also entrepreneurs, they try and do too much, and they try and do everything and be everything to everyone.
But and this is where, I remember watching the Michael Jordan,
Like the Netflix,
the series, and Phil Jackson said, you got to constantly pivot, and it's true. Business is constantly pivoting, constantly evolving, constantly moving, constantly learning. And to me, that's how you get there. It's again, letting things breathe and figuring out. I remember, here's a good analogy. I was interviewing, he's an artist named Russ. Russ told me that in his early days, he'd be on SoundCloud and he would see that he had fans in the state of Washington. He's like, I'm going to Washington. I'm going to go show them love and support because I have fans there. He'd see he had fans in Dubai in the Middle East because they thought he was Middle Eastern. He's not. He's from Jersey. But he'd go there and support his fans. That's brand building. That's brand building. Take what you get. Don't try to force. If it's not coming from New York, don't worry about it. If it's coming from somewhere else, you build around that. That's what we try to do.
What do you do to, so that's brand building, but create a great product? I mean, has to taste good, has to hit home. What's the process of creating a great product that you think people love? Do you like ask a whole bunch of people, sample it out? What do you do?
We trust our gut and our instinct.
Yeah, you just been doing this for so long that
it's not that. It's just if you were in our Chicago office, happened to be by, and I'd say, Scott, come in. I got to taste you on something. We're going to taste you on it. Tell them, what do you think? What do you think? So it's not based on, at the end of the day, again, it goes back to this idea, if anybody's going to fuck it up, it has to be me. It has to, because I think Bumbu is better than every other rum from a taste. I think our package speaks to something. Our story speaks to something. Deacon takes better than any other whiskey out there. Irish, American, Japanese, Canadian, we taste better. I believe it. I can sell something I believe in. That's it. That's the most important.
Spoke a little bit about social media, but also how influencers can't just, we spoke about it from the context of influencers trying to launch brands, but obviously you kill it on social. So social is a big opportunity. Also, you got to check out, like, if people are listening, got to go check out your podcast. So, I mean, you interview some of the biggest, musicians, artists, rappers, celebrities. So phenomenal podcast. But how do you think about social when it comes to brand building?
To me, so we don't advertise. We don't do traditional advertising. And to me, what social media does, it gives me a barometer if my brand's having success, because I'm not buying the consumer. I'm not buying fans. So to me, it's an authentic way to see. And if I use, again, my brands, Bumbu has more followers than Captain Morgan and Bacardi. Those are billion-dollar brands, and I have more followers. I am doing something right. I'm connecting with the consumer. They want to be attached to me. They want to see the brands. They want to see what's happening. So to me, it's working that way. I love influencers. I think everybody's an influencer. It could be a bartender. It could be someone you meet on the street. Doesn't matter who it is. But the key is to support your fans. And that's what we try to do, is support everybody who's supporting us.
How do you get that authenticity through social? Because, by the way, that's phenomenal. I didn't know you had more followers.
No, and Belaire too. Belaire has more probably than any other liquor brand if I add up its couple Instagram sites. But that shows it's authentic, it's real from the consumer perspective. But to me, it's always about showing love to people who support you. I was talking about the whiskey, or in Japan, we have all these bartenders who are now, or tastemakers who are now tasting and drinking Deacon, who are putting it out there. We're supporting them. I want to show them off. I want people to see them and shine a light on them. it's always about trying to shine a light back on those who love us.
I have to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's podcast, LinkedIn. Now, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. And did you know that in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites? So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. What really amazed me was how quickly I found qualified candidates on LinkedIn. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's like hiring professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. As small business owners, we're always juggling multiple responsibilities. LinkedIn understands this and constantly finds ways to make the hiring process easier. They've even launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even quicker. And it's really no wonder why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. I can't recommend it enough for finding top-notch professionals who could take your business to the next level. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/excellence. That's linkedin.com/excellence to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And that's how you win. That's how you win. Because I mean, if people look up your YouTube, for example, you see all these big stars, but that's not the only people that you're supporting. It's not just the big stars. It's the bartender that I got it. And I think too many brands do focus on like the A-list talent and not everybody else that really is influential. Because who do you listen to? Do you listen to the bartender? Like if I see, I love DJ Khaled, but if I see DJ Khaled, okay, I'm a little bit influenced. But if I'm at a bar and the bartender tells me what to drink, that's who I listen to.
Correct. So the way I look at it is, I'll use a Nipsey analogy. He said, Brett, you got to go pop your trunk. And I said, Nipsey, what does that mean? It means I'm going to go down to Compton. I'm going to take my car. I'm going to pop my trunk and sell my goods. Sell it. You got to be able to get down and dirty. I'm an old school brand builder. I believe I've got to get into the bars, get into the restaurants, get in, meet the retailers, go out and sell my brands. That's how brands are built. It's door to door. And all the other stuff helps. But that's the most important thing I can do is convince somebody that and I'm going to taste you. I want to taste you on it. I want you to try a competitor, and I guarantee you I've got a better product. It's old school.
Not many people do that anymore. But that's what works.
But all the other stuff helps. Social media helps, and everything else we do helps. But I believe that's the most important thing you can do. And that to me the industry hasn't changed. I still think that's where it's constant. Like I believe that shit. I believe it. I firmly believe it.
Well, so paint a picture. So you just did a tour through Europe, and you mentioned that you're doing a tour through Asia as well. So you will spend as little time in the office as possible. When you're going on these tours, what are you doing?
I'm meeting with our importer. And so we have an importer who manages our brands in those countries. So when I go to Japan, my first goal is I want to meet everybody, all the sales team, everybody possible, and tell our brand stories because I want them to hear it from me. And then I want to go visit the accounts with them. I want to see the accounts. I want to see the buyers, either accounts that are already supporting our brands because I want to thank them because that's the most important thing I can do, or take me to the accounts that they want to win over and let me tell the story of our brands so that I can share our story. And those are the back to the basics of brand building, of getting out there. That's what I have to do.
How many other CEOs do this? I don't think many. I mean, I don't want you to talk bad about other companies. That's not the goal. I think that maybe they send an account manager and of course there's scale to this. Like, I mean, like if you are a multinational, CEO has to, if you're a publicly traded company, a CEO has to manage a company. But I think for as long as you possibly can, the lesson is like boots on the ground, do the hard work, shake the hands, kiss the babies, whatever you got to do in person. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. What do they say about politics? Retail politics, right? Get in the market. It's true though. But again, there's other ways to build companies and brands. I just know the way I've been doing it and the way I want to do it.
But I think people over-index on the other way. People over-index on the no human-to-human interaction, the doing everything online, the figuring out the perfect ad spend and the perfect channels. And yes, it works. But I think the X factor, the the entrepreneur mode, or what people call the founder mode, just doing things that don't scale until they do. Sure. And I think that's why you're successful. And I think if more entrepreneurs, especially at the beginning, did it the way you do right now, I think they'd find more success. Like actually stepping into offices and rooms.
I think to me, it's the most important thing. To me, it solidifies for me how I would think the world is, is somebody. I tell my team all the time, it's like building an army. But when I think about it, I use my team as an example. In Latvia, so the country of Latvia is like 2 million people. In Latvia, this is the fastest growing brand in Latvia, Bumbu. Fastest growing brand. Rum doesn't even really exist there. We're the most expensive product, fastest growing brand. We're crushing it. But I know why. Because when we had an importer in the market, and that importer brand manager was this guy named Giannis, and Giannis loved the brand. And it's because of him. So he's just like me, got behind the brand and just went out and sold it. Now Giannis is our regional director, manages a whole bunch of countries. But I can point to people who've made the difference. And this is why I always say, if you believe in something, you can do anything. You can sell anything. And we try to build a team of people like this.
I think that's why you've been successful, for sure. When you look back over your career, what were some of the most important lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur? What are the things that really stuck out with you?
Oh, it's all these sayings. It's the lessons is, again, it's these sayings that I tell my team and hold true today. If you're waiting for somebody, you're always going to be waiting. Don't rely on anybody. You got to do it yourself. Trust your gut. If anybody's going to fuck it up, it's got to be you. It's got to be me. Try. I learned, in these interviews I've done with artists, and I love asking this question because it reinforces this idea. I always ask an artist what their most successful commercial song, biggest hit they've ever had. Did you think it was going to be successful? Every one of them said no. I didn't like the song. We didn't want to put it out. No one liked it. We shouldn't have done it. We did it anyway. Guess what happened? It was a huge success. And what that teaches me is you got to try shit. You got to try stuff, because most time we overanalyze everything. We overthink about everything. So for me, it's not one thing that's made us successful. It's lots of things, trying lots of things, not betting the farm in any one area. Because it's like that idea that everybody thinks I've got the thing that'll go viral. It never goes viral. You never know what's going to go viral, but you got to try a whole bunch of shit. Maybe something will work.
The concept of self-made. So why is that concept so important to you?
Because I think it's the reason I do these interviews is I hate hearing people's success stories. I hate it. Because it sounds so easy. I like hearing about the shit that they went through to get there, if they're honest about it. I think when I tell things like I lost my apartment and I stopped paying my mortgage and I got foreclosed on, or I stopped paying my taxes to the IRS and they swept my bank account because I could put more money back in the business, or all the horror stories, I think that's motivating for the young person in me who wants to start a business. It's not easy. And I think if you tell the not easy side, the hard side, is more important than me telling about how great these freaking brands are. I want people to know no one believes in them, because it's true. That's the normal way business is built. So to me, that's the idea of self-made. I've been through shit, but I got there. And I think that's the motivating side.
So you don't really interview entrepreneurs, but I guess like an artist would be an entrepreneur to a degree. But the question was really like, has anybody who you've interviewed, traditional entrepreneur or an artist who's also an entrepreneur, have any of them had an easy path at all?
That's the beauty of it. They all have their stories. They all have, whether it's psychological, whether it's a parent who just doesn't believe in you, whether I remember Steve Aoki telling me the story of his dad, and my God, it's tough. He had a tough time with this guy. Like we all have this shit we've been through to get there. And I think those stories are the stories worth telling because you got to fight through that stuff. And I think there's nuggets. I remember one, I don't even know who it is now, who I interviewed, and he said, Brett, I just got my first apartment and I only have half the furniture I need. I said, why? He says, because I don't want to feel comfortable. I don't want to feel comfortable. I feel like I need to keep, striving. I like that. Like that's,
It's so funny what people do to
motivate themselves. Yeah. And for me, and this is why I jokingly say this, is when I interview people, it's for me.
Yeah.
It's motivating.
I started this podcast.
Yeah, it's motivating. I love hearing. I don't know, I don't know Mark Cuban's story, but I'm assuming there's hopefully some shit he went through to get there, or maybe it was really easy. But hearing that guy get on the stage and talk about Casper and how they raised billions of dollars, they want it to sound like they've always been successful. Like, I know what I'm doing and I know how to get there. I want to hear the shit he went through because I can appreciate that. That's the fight. I want the fight side.
I think the thing is everybody has gone through that at the end of the day.
But that's the side they got to tell.
Yeah, but that's the side they're scared to talk about. That's what makes it human. That's what makes it a fun journey. I mean, I don't know a single, I've also interviewed tons of entrepreneurs. I don't know a single one who I actually got the story out of. There's people that bullshit, but I don't know a single one who actually had an easy journey. And I think that when you tell stories like that, it's important because then for a younger generation of entrepreneurs, the expectations are real. And I just had a podcast earlier today about the mental health of entrepreneurs. And what happened, it was actually super sad. There's a guy who had a 100-person company. And it was about, the company was buying fixer-upper homes or whatever. And then interest rates went up. So he had to lay everyone off and he committed suicide.
Yeah, I could.
Because his whole identity was wrapped up in this company. And all of a sudden he didn't have the company anymore and he didn't have a network of people to talk to. He killed himself.
I 100%.
So it's just like having more real conversation. Like the funny thing, okay, mortgage, lose the apartment, not paying taxes so you can put the money into the business. Like these are all things that entrepreneurs have thought of or dealt with at some point. They're like, I just need to get this thing to work, right? And then everything will be okay. But it's just about surviving in this world long enough until the thing works.
And I think for me, when I really think about it, and I'm trying to lately, I think if you ask me, Brett, why did you just stop? I think it's fear. It's fear. Fear of looking bad, fear of I failed, fear of it not working. I joke, my mom, who's 94 now, who's just, as I said, is my hero. She's fearless and clueless. And I think those are the same thing. And when you're younger, sometimes you're just, you're a little both. You don't know any better. So for me, it was just pure fear. I have to make this work. Otherwise, what the hell am I going to do? And it is scary. It is scary because your identity, your whole life is involved in this. But I think that you're right. I think that's the healthy side. Hearing about the crap side is a healthy side. It's the most healthy because it shows it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to happen fast. If it does, you're lucky.
Yeah, but you are lucky if it happens fast. It doesn't happen fast for 99.999% of people, right? Did you have people, like when you go back to when you lost your condo or mortgage or any of this shit that happened, did you have people around you or were you just like headstrong, figuring this shit out on your own? Because I find that also if you have a little group of people that can help too, but.
Well, I had my father saying, you're nuts, don't do this. I had my brother, who was my oldest brother, is an attorney saying, don't do this.
That's not helpful at all.
No, but they're being helpful in their own way, meaning they're looking out for me. But it's my mother. My mother was there, she's always been, she's fearless. I can do anything. But you need people like this. My wife, you need people like this who are there for you in good times and bad times. And that's the other thing. I tell people all the time, you got to find one person who, at least one, who's going to be there for you in both of those experiences. Because you need people to pick you up. You need people to motivate you, to get you through that day. That's just as important.
I think that is a huge X factor in entrepreneurship. If I didn't have, like, if Gina wasn't around when I get shit news or something bad happens, or like, she just pulls you out of it, helps you zoom out, and just understand that issue is not that big an issue.
Sure.
But if you don't have that person, you get, especially as an entrepreneur, you get stuck in your own thoughts, and it's very easy to spiral.
But it's also, and I think about this. I have a big sales meeting coming up, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to him. I was telling my wife in the car up here. My job is to motivate. My job is to be a cheerleader. That's any entrepreneur. Because you're an entrepreneur to me is somebody who's doing something that others wouldn't do, or these brands shouldn't work, or you're going against something. So you got to convince other people are going through the same crap you are at a different level. You got to convince them. You got to motivate them. You got to appreciate them. Like, that's our job.
Yeah, I love it. So what's next for you, man? Where's the future going with this?
Patience. There's no rush. We have our 5 brands: Belaire, Bumbu, Villon, McQueen, our gin, Villon, our Kavitz in the Cognac category, and now Deacon in whiskey. I have more brands I want to do, but I'm not in a rush, because I'm a big believer in that. If each of these is successful, it's easier the next time, and it'll be easier the next time. Growing our business, I'm trying to convince the world that brands like this can be global, and it's working. Where I want to be in all these countries, because I believe if you're in New York today drinking Bumbu and you go to Miami tomorrow, you don't change brands. You want the same brand. If you go to Paris the next day, you want the same brand. If you go to Kazakhstan the next day, you want the same brand. So that's my goal. Is
people have to do a better job of that, because if I go somewhere else, I drink a lot of tequila. If I go somewhere else, I was in Europe last summer, couldn't get tequila anywhere.
Or you couldn't even get your brand.
I definitely will get my brand.
So that's why I believe in global, which goes against, what most people think, stick big companies.
Why don't you have a tequila? When are you going to do tequila?
We'll do one. Yeah. We'll do one. But I'm not, again, this is where I made a decision a long time ago. I want it all fast, but it's not the way it works.
I'm excited for not new, but different champagne. That's what I'm actually very excited for. So I'm not a huge fan of some of the household names that have been around for a long time.
You got to try our Belaire. It's fantastic, fantastic. But I love it. I love my brands. I love my team. I love what we're trying to build.
You're a great version of entrepreneurship. I love that, because I see a lot of people that are trying to speed run through entrepreneurship, and they burn out, and they lose themselves. They lose their health and their wellness, mental, physical. They lose their families. They lose their wives.
You gotta, for me it is, and again, there's no question I was, in the first 5-6 years, a different person than I am today, but it's because I accept it. I love what I'm doing, and I'm perfectly fine doing it at whatever level. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Where do you see the industry going?
It's a big question. There's always going to be new trends. We had a huge RTD trend. Low alcohol RTDs, ready to drink. Everybody jumped in. There's a huge flushing of the system, but that'll stay. Non-alcoholic is becoming popular.
Do you think that's going to keep up?
Oh, I think it has a place. I think I'm just not a trend person.
So it doesn't matter to you. Yeah.
I think I want to create our own trends. So I want to do our way. So I believe in that. But what the beauty of this business is, they're a great brand is a badge of honor. You wear it. And that's what I love about it, is I appreciate brands, whether they're mine or somebody else's. I appreciate brands.
Yeah. What would be one thing that I didn't ask you about that would be good for upcoming entrepreneurs?
I think this is a good one, which I get asked. What's it like working with family?
That's true.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I think once we defined roles, so I work with my brother. Actually, I work with all my brothers now and my nephew. If you have defined roles, that's the key, meaning everyone's got a responsibility. But the beauty of working with family is I know they're going to work just as hard as me. I know that they're going to do everything they can. I can trust them. I rely on them. And what we've also done, even though I guess it's a family company, we treat everybody the same. So all the employees, I treat them the same. They're family. We don't treat anybody different. I remember I used my brother Blake as the example. He's going to kill me for saying this, but he's a salesman in Chicago, and I think he all he had to do was sell 3 more cases to hit his true bonus. He could have just fucking bought the 3 cases in the market. He didn't do it, so he didn't get it. So we treat everybody the same. Everybody the same.
It's so funny. But I mean, you have to set. That's the thing about family businesses. So I mean, if you don't set these boundaries, you have to. Because then everybody, a lot of emotions get involved in that business real quick. Yeah. But the thing you do have is you have trust. You have this explicit trust. It's super beautiful. And if you've ever hired people that aren't in your family, which would be anybody who's hired anybody, trust is a big thing. And it's hard. It takes time to build that trust. When you work with family, hopefully you have trust right out of the gate.
Yeah. To me, it's what I get from them is work ethic. Like I know they're going to work. There'll be days and weeks that I won't talk to my brother. But it's not when we're very different, but it's not because we don't want to talk to each other. It's he's doing his thing. And when he's got something he wants to raise something, he'll call me and I'll do the same thing. And that's the key. And if you can translate that to everybody in your company, it works beautifully.
Amazing. Okay. Where should people go connect with you? Check out your brands. You have an awesome YouTube channel too.
Me, Brett Berish, CEO on Instagram. We use our Instagram sites for everything. Official Belaire, Original Bumbu, Deacon Whiskey, McQueen, and the Violet Fog Gin, Villon Cognac, France.
By the way, I'll put all the links in show notes too. And if you do, I think on your Instagram, you have the handles of all the brands as well. And to buy them, I mean, I saw that you can actually order them online.
You can order them online in the US, direct on you just go through the Instagram pages and you'll
want to check any of these out. But if you can also pick them up, I'm assuming wherever you buy liquor. Yeah, okay.
Any liquor stores, any bars and restaurants. And if they don't have it, ask for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just ask
That's
for
the secret. You have to ask for it. You have to ask for it.
Even if you know they don't.
Good. Last thing, you've had an incredible career. Different seasons to your career as well. If you go back and you want to tell your 20-year-old self one thing, what would that thing be?
Don't rely on anybody. You can't. You got to do everything yourself. You got to assume that it's the biggest mistake I've ever made because it always happens. And if I'm waiting for somebody to make something happen, I'll always be waiting. If they come through, fantastic, but don't wait. And I think that, and the other one that people make mistakes all the time is you're just setting yourself up to fail if you ask somebody their opinion. What do you think of this? What do you think of this idea? What do you think? You're just opening yourself up. And the key is sometimes you can't ask. You just got to go do it. Just go do it. Or be prepared. Be prepared. No matter, they're going to say something negative, but maybe they'll teach you something that you hadn't thought of.
I would have thought that they're just like empty platitudes and they would have just said something positive just to, I guess it depends who you ask.
Yeah. But I think, I still go back to don't rely on anybody. It's not a defensive thing. It's just, it helps you. It helps you realize I got to go make this shit happen myself. I got to go make it happen. I have to make it happen. That's the key.